Welcome, Smutters, to the Sibsreadsmut podcast. I'm Helen.
I'm Ned.
Ned, what are you drinking? Wait, is that a Diet Cherry Coke?
Mm-hmm. It's got Cherry Coke Zero.
Were you inspired by Kelly when we were home last week? I also bought Diet Cherry Coke this week.
I've been drinking these a lot. I like these.
Okay, apparently it's just only come back out in the last couple years.
Well, that's the diet. That's the Diet Cherry Coke. But this is the Coke Zero, though.
Sick. I hate Coke Zero. Okay, moving on. Thanks for being here, dear readers.
And walking with us down that trail of stupidity about Diet Coke.
Listen, the readers are here for the Diet Coke that you will not be getting an explosive diarrhea parasite from. So drink your Diet Coke. It's the only thing that's good for you.
Thanks for the emails, Dad.
And dust off your tuxedo, strap on your dangly earrings, not your strap on, down your champagne, and berate your chauffeur. It's smut time. That's wild. This is a podcast where we read, rate, review, and tell yuck yucks while discussing our favorite dirty romance novels. For video episodes, tune into our YouTubes to see our beautiful faces on full episodes and shorts. Also, tune in on Fridays for fun new mini-sodes of Sibsreadsmut, where we discuss books outside the dirty verse or whatever content I'm consuming, because I don't know if I have any books for you this week. We'll cover that.
I have more than enough.
I was going to say, you have a lot, and I have a lot of TikTok trends that I've covered. So we'll have something to talk about. If you're liking our brand of bullshit, go on and smash that like, rate, subscribe button. Every little bit helps. If you have book suggestions or questions, reach out to us on the socials, Sibsreadsmut on Instagram and TT, or email us, sibsreadsmut@gmail.com. And support your local libraries, Smutters. We love them. And so do you. Oh, so should you.
So do you. We are telling you.
So do you. I hope you better love your library or we'll come for you. On today's podcast, we are discussing Bared to You by Sylvia Day. Spoiler alert, we do talk about this book start to finish, tip to taint, beginnings, endings, and thank you for putting that in there. Beginnings, endings, and twists are all fair game, so if you haven't read the book, hit pause and read or listen to us first, see if you'll like it, and off we go. I want to talk about Cover Watch. Ned, put the cover up in between us, please. I don't know where it is.
Go there again.
What are your thoughts? You know I don't give a shit about the cover.
This one, it was. I think there's a couple, but there's one that's just kind of like a artsy smoke type thing, and that one's okay.
That's what I read.
And
just the word.
And then there's
words.
Yeah, but there's some kind of design behind it, and then there's the one that's just a shoe. It's like a high heel in the middle.
Oh.
And that one was. I'll put them both up so that people can compare and contrast. But the high heel one was just like a lady's shoe on its side, and I was like, okay. Neither one of them really describe what the hell's going on, but I don't mind.
Oh wait,
it.
there's one with cufflinks.
Oh,
there's also a cufflinks one. Oh wait, and then there is a naked one, Bared to You, where it's literally like the outline of her body and her butt, and you can see her underboob, and then he's like sniffing her mid back.
not her cleft. There was a lot of cleft talk in this book.
Isn't cleft like when you have like a cleft lip? Isn't that up here? He kept saying that he was like rubbing the tip of his penis along her cleft, and all I could think was he was just rubbing it like right under her nose. And I was like, I don't think that's the cleft that they're talking about.
No,
but
and
that would be a cleft lip.
Yeah, is that the term for it?
I think cleft just means
that's what it is. Yeah, cleft lip.
Cleft palate.
Cleft palate. Yeah. So,
but you can have cleft things. What does cleft mean? Let's just do the definition of cleft.
Well, we are off on another tangent already.
Listen, we're going to use our libraries. Crack, split, or indentation in a surface. So it could be anywhere.
like her butt crack.
Like her butt,
like he's sniffing her upper cleft on her back,
or her lower slit. Contains her holes.
Oh man, yeah, that is wild. I saw that on Goodreads.
Yeah.
Well, I'll find them all and put them.
I was
them
gonna
all
say you
up
need
there.
to put them all because there's cufflinks, there's the naked photo, there's the shoe, and then there's like the smoke. I read the smoke. I didn't realize there were other. So what do you? I mean, this is not an exciting cover to me.
No.
And you probably actively dislike the actual one where he's sniffing her mid back.
Yeah, I don't love that. It's not cartoony enough for me.
Yeah. I was gonna say it's not colorful. There's no rainbows.
Yeah, there's no animals or crazy wackiness going on or pies. They are cute downtown city streets. It was fine, but this is kind of crazy because it came out right around the time of 50 Shades, so there was a lot of comparisons between the two. And I, right off the bat, can tell you I like this way more than 50 Shades. That was so much better written. But 50 Shades came out in 2011, and Bare to You came out in 2012. Okay. So they're contemporaries, but they're both they're compared a lot because they're both multi-book series. Mm-hmm. We read this is book 1 of 5, all about this couple.
Yeah, it's not even like different characters in the world. It's their story the whole time.
Which is kind of wild, and I think that there's a lot of side stories. This book is like the introduction to the whole thing. It kind of sets up the world for them to now have a bunch of issues going forward. We'll get into the summary here in a minute, but like they're setting you up for the next 4 books of having, the brother being a problem, and the friend being a problem, and the ex-fiance being a problem, and all this stuff being problems. And I'm like, so there's not a whole lot of like meat on the bones in this one, because
there's a lot of sex though.
Oh, lots of sex. I think it was 16 sex scenes. I think
that's it. It felt like the whole thing was sex. I mean, it really.
They were
did.
long. They
were long, explicit. Yep. There was just a lot.
Well, and I mean, but it starts. I think it seemed like there was sex all the time because, unlike most of these books, the sex started like 20% in. Like most of these books don't start until 40 or 50%. So it feels like the whole second half of the book is sex. This one started at 20%, and pretty much every 5% there's a sex chapter.
Yeah.
But
we should tell people what the book's about.
I was gonna say, do you want to start getting into the summary a little bit?
Sure.
Smell bell.
Yeah, I'd love to start off this summary. Welcome to New York City, where everyone is hot, everyone has unresolved trauma, and apparently the only acceptable place to fall in love is a skyscraper named after a billionaire. That's true. So basically, the story is about Eva, which I listened, obviously. I thought her name was Ava this whole time. Do you pronounce it EVA? Do you pronounce that Eva or Ava?
I usually go Eva.
I say Eva, but I swear when I was listening to it, they kept saying Ava. So when I finally went and read the description and her name was Eva, I was very confused. Anyway, she moves to Manhattan. Yay! So I think she's coming from San Diego, and she's leaving behind her painful past. She's determined to start over, become a normally functioning adult, and she starts working in the Crossfire building. And apparently she comes from money, but she's wants to earn her own way.
Well,
her
stepfather
stepdad
is rich.
has money. Yes.
Yeah.
So she's very comfortable, and her mom is married to her stepdad, obviously, but she has a bio
Thanks,
dad.
Ellen.
Well, and the one thing, and maybe I missed it in this story, and I don't know if maybe you can fill me in on this. She has this bio dad who's a cop out in San Diego, and I don't really understand his purpose in the book. As the author, adding in this layer of, she has her real dad and she has her real mom, and her real mom, her dad loved her mom, but her mom just wanted money and status.
Yeah.
And so she just left him and then dated another guy that was terrible, and then another, and now is married to this good billionaire.
The second guy that she married for money was the whole impetus of Eva's trauma.
Yeah.
I think the story that's going to come up at some point in the next 4 books after this one is that the dad, who is a cop, does not know about the abuse that she suffered.
No.
And so when he finds out, I think he's going to fucking kill the stepbrother that abused her when she was a child. I think somehow he's going to get involved, or the stepbrother's going to come after her again down the line at some point, and he's going to get involved, and whatever, because they tease that he's going to come and visit her at some point. Which and also this story takes place over the course of like a month or 2. It's very quick. Like they're saying "I love you" is like 2 weeks in. It's pretty fucking nuts.
Yeah.
But so it takes place very in a short amount of time, and I feel like they're teasing the next books with the dad and the brother, because none of these storylines are followed at all in this book. Pretty much,
it's frustrated me.
Just sending out the threads, and nothing's reeled in yet.
Yeah. It makes you have to, if you want resolution for a majority of this book, like if you just want to read about good sex, I mean good sex, I mean, if you want to read a lot of sex, this is the book for you.
Yeah.
If you want like a a rounded out story, you have to read the whole series, because you will not get it in this first novel.
I mean, and it starts off like right away. As soon as she meets Gideon in the lobby of this building, which he owns the building, Gideon Cross, and it's your pretty standard meet cute. They bump into each other. She's helping someone else pick up a bunch of change, and he just grabs her hand as she's going for one of the quarters, and they like sparks fly, and she's like, he's dangerous, but not actual dangerous, just dangerous for me. And she's like, she had one line where she was like, I also think he has the type of voice that could make me come by itself. And it's like, and
all right,
they're just super steamy for each other, but it's also single perspective. So we only have Ava's perspective this whole book, which it was okay. But there's so much trauma and therapy talk that I'm like, yeah, it was fine. It wasn't the best single perspective that we've ever read, but it wasn't as bad as some of them can get, especially 50 Shades.
Do you know if the rest of the books in this series are also single perspective and like Eva's perspective, or are maybe they flip back and forth? Because that was a big critique of 50 Shades, that it was all from her perspective, yada yada. And so, I mean, if this is they're wanting to fix 50 Shades, it'd be nice if they went back and forth.
Yeah, I'll look it up on the Audibles later. And see if there's just because one person reads it doesn't mean it can't be dual perspective.
Oh yeah, no.
The woman that does the voices did both voices for the both of the main characters, but it was like their attraction is so immediate and overwhelming that she, is just wet for him immediately. And it's like Gideon begins to pursue her almost immediately. Like he's like, what's standing in the way of me having sex with you? And she's like, gross. And she's like, get away from me. He's super gruff and blunt about it.
Random guy.
Yeah, and it's like he starts in with a dirty talk right away, like, I want to get in that puss. And it's like, she's like, "What? Who are you? Why are you even here?" And that was pretty aggressive come on. I don't know what you thought about that, but that was wild to me.
Yeah, and I think the point of it, like, if I was the writer, I feel like she's trying to get across like this intense passion that they feel, like just the intense chemistry that they have right off the bat. They feel it off of each other, but it also just felt like he's a billionaire. There's a power dynamic here. Like, she's the assistant at an ad agency in the building, and he's like owns the building and super rich and powerful. And but the power dynamic of it all. And I did love, I think I loved her mostly in comparison to the main chick in 50 Shades, but like I at least feel like, especially with his advances, she gave it back to him. Like, she wasn't just sitting there like, oh, my goodness, thank you for picking me. Like, she was like, no, freak, get away from me. Like, you're being weird. I'm not just going to sleep with you. I mean, she does. But, like, she at least sort of, like, put up a fight with him in some ways. Like, you could tell that she had, like, some self-respect. And
some backbone, for sure.
Had a backbone. So I liked her response to a lot of that. But very quickly, she, was like, I just can't resist him. And so they started boning.
She gives up the milk for free. It's, she also is like, I need this to be part of this. And he's like, I see this as a business deal. And she's like, I can't look at our sexy times as a business deal. And he's tracking her. There's some, the mom's tracking her phone, and
that made me think of you.
tracking her and everything else. And I'm like, there was a lot of violating her privacy in this way, and she is trying to lay down some boundaries, and he doesn't realize how much it actually bothers her. And it's such just, they're triggering each other the whole time. I'm like, are they actually just terrible for each other? Like, are they just not good for each other?
Honestly, kind of. No, they're not, because this is the whole book through, and we'll explain more. But like, it's always like, he messes up or she messes up, and then they have a lot of sex and they come back, and then or he pisses her off. I thought the tracking thing was very annoying, and I know that you hate. We're all on, our whole family's on Find My Friends, and Ned hates it. Yeah. He hates that we can track him, which you can easily turn it off, and you have it for when you're biking across the country, because we make you turn it on when you are.
But it's like, why are you at the hospital? I was taking a friend to the hospital. Like, why are you looking at it when we're not in constant contact?
We also talk every day as a full family, so there's very rarely days that we don't
know what we're doing,
have a general understanding of what's going on. And if there was a big deal, I knew you were taking your friend to the hospital, so I did not look that day, but Dad knew that. I feel like he knew that. So anyway, it makes me laugh. That part made me laugh, where she has a cell phone, and her mom gives her a cell phone when she moves to New York. She quickly finds out that her mom is then using it to track her. So she leaves the cell phone, gets herself her own cell phone, and just leaves the cell phone. And then she makes her mom go to a therapy session with her. Like, Mom, you're not allowed to track me. And the mom's like, but I just worry. And the therapist is listen, lady, you can't track your kid like that. You have to trust her. She's 25, whatever. But then he's quickly like, let's write down all the things your daughter does that worry you. And so she made me laugh, because the character Eva made me laugh, because she was like, well, never mind. He's actually on her side. Sorry, I slammed the desk. Anyway, so the part that did freak me out, the mom thing, I think that lays well and sort of sets the groundwork for understanding her family dynamic. What I didn't love about him was he tracked her based on her credit card swipes, and she apparently lives in one of his apartment buildings. So he had all this background on her and her roommate Carrie, who's a straight male, or not straight male, he's I think bisexual, but her roommate who's her brother, but he's suspicious.
He's very possessive and jealous, but so is she. She's hella jealous too.
And I think she comes right out and says listen. And I think we should probably just keep telling the story. So basically, they start fucking. And then she goes to him, and one of her earlier thoughts is, I have to tell him about my trauma, because it really does. I think she has the self-awareness to know that, so much of the things that her jealousy, her need for, feeling in control, those are things that her trauma has informed, and she's, done the work, and she has a good understanding of that. So she realizes, if this is going to go anywhere with him, I need to tell him about my history. And I think part of it too was she knew he's a bigwig billionaire, and he's always in the media. I think a photo came out of them on the street kissing or something, and so she was like, great, we're already in the newspapers, he needs to know this about me.
It's gonna come out.
It's gonna come out. If people start looking heavily into me as the girlfriend, it's gonna come out. So she reveals her trauma. Basically, she was her
I have it. Yeah, I have it listed out here. Yeah, her Eva tells Gideon her trauma and some of her history. Her stepbrother raped her repeatedly, after they moved, after the mother married her previous stepfather, and threatened her and the staff to keep it quiet.
So fucked
and
up.
it happened for a long time. And when it looked like she was about to speak up and tell somebody about it, he killed her cat and like left it dead on her bed. And then it was only found out because she had a lot of bleeding. She was like 14, and she had a miscarriage, and finally had to go to the doctor, and it got reported to Child Services, and so they finally like arrested him, and paid her out like millions of dollars, and the mom immediately divorced the stepdad, and they got out of there. But there was a payout, and the new stepfather kind of put a gag order on all this stuff. But it was very traumatic, and she spent a long time kind of being a hellion after that.
Mm-hmm.
Got into some drugs and got into to drinking, and she met her best friend Carrie in rehab, and I don't know if it was rehab or if it was just like a trauma-based, group therapy type thing. But the plot after she tells him about this quickly becomes, I have trauma, and he's like, that's crazy. I also have trauma, and it's like, should we unpack that? Absolutely not. And it's just back and forth ping ponging.
And then he's like, great, I also have trauma, but I will not be telling you about it.
What the fuck? And then like he has like nightmares and all these crazy dreams, and she has some too, but not as often as he does. He like very regularly has these like very explicit, and but then he like won't tell her about it. He's like, don't go near my brother, don't go near this person, stay away from this person. And he's like,
and won't tell her why, which is asinine.
Explain any of it, and she just is like, oh, he's got trauma. I wish I knew. Bitch.
Yeah,
and they can tell you.
But also, rather than like fixing each other, like they often just trigger each other's fears, which is why, going back to like, are they healthy for each other? And it's like, no, they're not. They're not really. They just keep on triggering each other, but they can't stay away from each other. They're obsessed, and it's like, okay, and so rather than fixing each other, they often just trigger each other's fears. Like the jealousy, the withdrawal. She just leaves when she gets like triggered. She'll just get up and walk out, and that triggers him, and she's triggering her. And there's not very being vulnerable with each other is very hard. There's possessiveness, and they're both in therapy, but it's like it doesn't seem to be particularly helping either of them all that much. And they're trying to be honest with each other, but they're kind of not. And at one point, it's like they're giving their own therapy to each other. Where at one during one of the sex scenes, she's like he's like, I don't do anal play, Eva, and she's like, well, the bad man touched me there, and I want you to reclaim my butthole for me, which she calls her sensitive rosette, which I've never heard before. Which I was like, oh my god, I texted you about that too.
You texted me about that, and it made me laugh because I had texted you the day before, or a couple days before, about Bob, B-O-B.
Mm-hmm.
Which this is one of my favorites. So she like before they have sex, is like early in the book. He's like saying, I want to have sex with you, and she's like, no, I'm busy. I have to go home and masturbate with my vibrator. And she goes, I have to go home and like hang out with my B.O.B. And he like knew what that was. He's like, oh, your battery operated boyfriend. I'm already jealous. And I was like, wait, I'm sorry. Did she just call her vibrator a Bob? And then it made me laugh especially hard because your nickname for me growing up, which infuriated me more than any other nickname I've ever had. Like I would prefer to be called Stink than called me Bob.
Which I also call you. I also call you Stink. That's one of your nicknames.
I prefer Stink. Like the nickname Bob growing up was just the most infuriating, and I think too I hated it, and which then made like you love calling me that more. But Tracy? Do you remember that was like somebody that worked at Mom's office, and she like babysat us a couple times or like checked in while Mom and Dad are out of town or something.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't really like her. And she thought it was so hilarious that you called me Bob. And so then she started calling me Bob. And I think like the fact that I already didn't like her and that you just did it because it didn't make sense. There was no joke to it. It was just Bob. And now we know, battery operated boyfriend. You were apparently calling me a vibrator the whole time, but we didn't fucking know that. And so
I read that and I laughed out loud on the train, like with my headphones in. Like, oh, that was really funny. I have to text Ned.
Oh yeah. Well, and we both were reading that part like at the same time.
Like, I literally just read that. And I was like,
I was just typing up the notes about it, and you texted me laughing, and I was like, oh my god, it was such a weird coinky dink.
That was a very funny part.
It was funny.
In terms of, there are like, I feel like that's almost the author giving you a little wink of like, yeah, this is a heavy, serious book about trauma and just boning, but also like her sensitive rosette. There's a scene from like 10 Things I Hate About You where the school counselor, do you remember that movie where she, it's Allison Janney is the school counselor, and like in between students, she's writing a romance novel and she's like using her thesaurus to like look up alternate terms for his throbbing member.
Yeah.
That's what some of these things made me think of, is like Sylvia Day just being like, what's another word for
thesaurus.com? Yeah.
Sensitive rosette.
Sensitive rosette. It was pretty crazy, but like, you know, there's a lot of characters, and I appreciated how they kind of spread out you meeting everybody throughout this, because you know, you meet a lot of various people, and Magdalena is a woman that's kind of in love with Gideon, and she's, you know, and so Eva is just immediately jealous of her because she's beautiful and everything else, and also knows him, you know, pretty well or whatever, and then, you know, Gideon's jealous of Carrie, and then there's Corinne, the ex-fiance of Gideon's, who comes into play later, and then there's the stepbrother, and you know, there's all, and Gideon's brother Christopher, who's kind of a douchebag too.
Somebody in the biz. He's in the music industry.
Yeah, and it's like, and so, you know, like you said before, he's telling her to stay away from Christopher, and you know, I'm not going to stop being friends with Magdalena and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, well, we don't know that that he grew up with Magdalena. He's not interested in her. They never dated. Christopher's also banging her on the side. So it's, you know, it's like any of this could have given context to why he said to stay away. But instead he just goes, you know, I need to be in control. I need to be in, you know, like whatever. And then it's weird because he's like, throughout this time having these nightmares, like you were saying. Wait,
talk about the nightmare where he's beating off.
I know. I was just getting there.
I undercut you.
You undercut me.
Wild.
So he's having these nightmares, and one of them, she wakes up next to him, and he's just angrily like masturbating in his sleep, and he's just
no, don't touch me there. Yeah, he's like having this terrifying night, like a night terror, and whacking off.
But he's full on hard, whatever else. Which you know, I talk about it in one of the sex scene chapters. But you know, it's he is so that's like the one part of it, and then later down the line he like almost sleep rapes her, and he's like attacks her when he's sleeping, and it's, you know, it's a serious issue, and he's you know, she's terrified of him for an hour after that, and
Carrie's there.
Carrie's there and saves the day, but also he's like, okay, I gotta get into therapy, and he starts taking drugs, and like he's actively working on himself, which is nice, but you know, like Gideon's frustrated with Eva's tendency to withdraw. Eva's, you know, reliance on running away pisses off Gideon, you know, and then she just refuses to lose herself to a relationship. But also, he at one point is like, listen, you need to compromise with me a little bit. Like, I'm giving up a lot to be with you. Like, you know, I'm making time in my day for you. I'm treating you like a girlfriend. I'm not treating you like anything else. I'm making this more than just a business transaction for sex. Like, you need to let me have some time to adjust to this. You know, and so I thought it was she had more emotional control in the relationship than he did, I felt like. And even though the power
or of them. When you say she had more emotional control
of them,
like
them. She was laying down her boundaries for what she needed out of the relationship and kind of just making him fit in that. And she was not giving him, well, and we don't know it from his perspective, so like we can't know. But like I feel like he is bending to her boundaries more so than she is like giving him space. And some of that power imbalance is because he's the rich one and everything else. It is kind of, her not cowtailing and losing herself to the relationship, but also she's not being, it's not a very equitable distribution of like emotional, compromise. I don't think.
No, I agree. I think that's why I probably like her more than a lot of other, like the character in 50 Shades. I do think he doesn't know what he wants. He thinks he does, but then like he meets this woman and he's like suddenly sure that he needs her, but it breaks all of what the boundaries that he had written in his head. So I feel like he's kind of like, oh shit, like I thought this is what I wanted and needed out of all of my relationships, but now I've met this woman. She is the opposite of that. Like I want to be her partner and, I want to get to know her on this. It's not like sex over here and business, like it's not a business transaction. So I think he doesn't necessarily know what he wants because he spent his whole life like leading up to like, I need it to be business and sex, and she's kind of blowing the lid off of that. So I have a feeling we have 5 more books to figure out what
Four. There's 5. There's 5 total.
4 more books. And I did check. It is all her perspective the whole way through. So they're all from her perspective.
Books 4 and 5 do have dual author reads, though.
How do you know that? That's not
I saw it on Audible.
Oh.
Audible has the narrated by Jill Redfield and Jeremy York.
Okay.
The last 2 books. But yeah, but it's, at the tail end, you think something's going to happen with them, like they keep, separating, coming back together, separating, coming back together. There is no real low point because a low point happens like every other chapter in this book. Yeah. And she's bereft, and then she's heartbroken, and then she's super happy, and then she's bereft again. So it's like, there is no low point per se, but at the benefit, one of the benefits that they go to, Gideon kind of ignores her for the ex-fiance, and she gets super pissy and jealous and leaves instead of talking to him and makes a bunch of assumptions about their relationship. Mm-hmm. And the novel just kind of ends with them making up. But, most of the emotional questions are unresolved. This is, like we said, the first installment of a 5-book series. So there's a lot more coming. But they kind of just continue to choose to fight for each other. And healing is a long process. And, by the end of the book, everyone made like 3 emotional breakthroughs and like took 17 emotional setbacks. It was just nuts. And do you think the unresolved ending, is that something that makes you want to read the rest of the series, or did it leave you frustrated?
It left me frustrated. And I think for me right now in my phase of life, like reading full series like this is just not an option. Like I don't have the time right now to go read 4 more of these books. And so I was annoyed. I was like, I did not feel like I wasted my time because I do feel like it was interesting. The sex was, hot and heavy, and I actually really liked it. Was very refreshing. There was a lot of things that I liked about this book. Like also the fact that it was written in 2012, there were certain like zeitgeisty things of like,
everybody had a home phone.
Everyone had a home phone and like a flip phone, and like it was very specific to this time in the world, and I really loved that. But and so anyway, they had I think I can't read the next 4 books, so I want to know what happens. I'm curious, but I don't have the time for it, so I was left feeling frustrated. You are a series guy and you love a good series. Are you motivated now to read all the rest? Will you?
Yeah, I like her writing. I think she's a good author. I like the banter, and I liked Eva. I don't particularly like Gideon. I would give another book a read. Mm-hmm. I might not commit to the full 5-book series, but I would definitely read book 2 because I want to see where because I feel like there is some, element of danger that could possibly come into these books that might give it a little, what's our term? I'm forgetting our term for. The not element of mystery.
Undercurrent of menace.
I feel like there's an undercurrent of menace running in here that could potentially, be fun. But
Ned, I have to tell you something.
What?
Our intern ruined it for me. In, I think, book 2, Nathan, the brother, is murdered.
The stepbrother.
The stepbrother.
Yeah.
Is murdered.
The raper.
The rapey guy. So there is definitely an undercurrent of menace coming. So the intern told me that happened in this book. And so then when I was reading your notes, I was like, oh, there's no murder here. and then I was like, oh, it's because it's in a different book. So that is coming. So I'm ruining that for you and our entire audience. But the intern ruined it for me, so I can't.
Yeah. Well,
but
fuck
so there
you,
is
Chaz.
Fuck you, Chaz. There is definitely like some, undercurrent of menace on its way. And I'm sure the cop dad will come into like play.
Yeah.
With,
well, because she's got to be a suspect too. So I'd read book 2. Would I read it, or would I listen? I'd listen to it. But as we could only find the audiobooks on Audible so far, I do not know if they're on what other streaming services they're on. But as everyone is waiting with bated breath, let's get to the sex chapter titles.
Yes, please. Thank you.
There are 16%. First kiss happens at 12%, which is a little early than we sometimes see it. But he also just is like, they're having their business meeting to work out when he can bone her, and it's like, and she's like, at least give me this, and kisses him, and there's so much sexual thinking and talking throughout this entire book that almost every other paragraph there's something that she's like, oh my god, I can't, his sensual back, like whatever. But 21% in is pre-gala grinding, quick makeout session, hair pulling, pretty spicy, fingers, dirty talk. The condo talk amounts to Gideon is like, I'm clean, and once I know you're clean, I'm going to just come inside you, which was like, oof.
That's one of my biggest pet peeves about romance novels is when people fuck before big events. Like, you have spent time getting gussied up. You have put on your makeup. You have done your hair. You are wearing your exact right, you put on your deodorant and your perfume, and you're probably 5 layers of Spanx. Ain't no way that he's just popping in there and being like, show me your puss, and then like having like these ropes of semen just falling down her legs while she's wearing Louboutins to this fucking thing. Like, no woman wants to be touched sensually prior to the event. You have spent so much time getting ready that if somebody
technically he just ate her out. He didn't semen in her.
Oh my god! It just infuriates me every time. It's like, oh, you look so pretty for this event we're going to. Let me fuck it up, and then let's just go. I'm like,
yeah,
she's gonna need like an hour to put herself back together. Fuck you.
She did fuck him in the backseat on the way to the event. That's 25% backseat bonanza. She jerks him off in the backseat, and he just can't take it anymore. He does use a condom, so there's not too much mess, and he just
ties it up and puts it in the little like
trash receptacle in the car.
There was a small hidden trash receptacle that he put the tide
Yeah.
I was like, thank you for the specificity. I was really wondering what he was going to do with it.
Where it went. Yeah. And
can you imagine in New York, he just like flings it out the window? Yeah. It just like lands on the sidewalk.
It's a person in the face as he's walking by. What was that? And they're both kind of left off kilter. That was weird because he shuts down immediately like after that, and that's like the first time she pulls away because he walls her off, and like that was a pretty big emotional trigger. 38% post workout sheet swimming. Pretty self-explanatory, kind of gross. He eats her out without showering after he's just balls deep and whatever after they work out together.
They worked out, and she was like,
she didn't want him to shower, but it's like he's like, yeah, let me just.
Oh yeah,
eat you out without showering first. And it was like, she just liked his smell. He was like full on, let me put my mouth all over you, without showering first. Lots of dirty talk. It was pretty crazy. 43% was nocturnal.
Wait, sorry, that scene. So after the gym, she's like, I need to take you ASAP. Like, I'm smelling you at the gym. Apparently, of course, he owns the fucking gym because, of course. And then he's like, I have a place around the corner. And they go to this hotel, and it turns out to be his, like, fuck shack.
Yeah,
and
his
so
F shack.
He's like, okay, they do all that stuff that you just described. And then he's like, all right, I'm going to go grab a shower. Come in with me. And she's like, okay, I'll be there in a minute. And then she, like, opens the drawer, and it's full of condoms. No Bible, just condoms. And then she like opens the drawers in the closet, and she just realizes
sex toys.
There's like sex toys, and then like an extra sets of clothes for him. And like she's like, wait, is this not just like a random hotel room? No, this is like his fuck hotel room. Like this is just where he brings women.
Yeah.
And so she was like, you told me I was special, and obviously you just brought me to this fuck shack. And
she spins out again. Like
leaves.
Almost every one of their sexual encounters leaves one of them spinning out and running away.
I gotta go. She does steal a T-shirt, which I respect. But,
and then 43% nocturnal emissions. He's having a nightmare, and she just has a quickie with him because she wants him to calm down.
Does sex fix everything? Like, does sex fix a fear of storms? No, and so he's like having clearly a night terror, and he's like, crying out and screaming, and she's like, I know it'll fix this. And she just like wakes him up, and then she's like, I'm gonna hop on. And she did. And now, like, as we get to know a little bit more about his trauma, knowing that it's a sexual nature, like, probably wasn't the best idea, but she didn't know it at the time. So
well, and his whole coming on method to her, coming on super strong and whatever else, like, is even more fucked up once he finds out about her trauma and her being, repeatedly raped in the past. It was like,
without consent. Yeah,
that must have been very triggering for you. But 47% naughty secretary swallow, just middle of the day, just sucks him off before an afternoon meeting, and I'm like, the next people in the meeting coming in it smells like balls in here, like what? Like what's going on? But it's
wet spot.
Also super spicy. The 49% midnight mouth machinations. Gideon wakes her up after his business meeting and then just eats her out like a fat kid at a buffet.
Like Louis Anderson.
Yeah.
Cheesecake.
All right. 50% shower quickie, 54% trauma porn pounce. She reveals her trauma, and then he's like, "Oh, let's,
I can fix it.
Can you still get hard for me?" And he's like, "Duh." And whatever.
Thank you for the sound effect.
And then 56% getting dirty in the shower. Just finger blaster before dinner. Some of these are quickie scenes. Some of these are in-depth, long. Whatever. Garden party, punana tartar.
That one was the one where the brother walks in on them,
and Magdalena walks in too, and he's like full on fingering her butt when the brother comes in. He's like,
her skirt is down, so the brother
can't see anything.
But they're out in the open, and it's like her skirt essentially is covering.
Well, they're in the library in a closed room. It's not like they're
the brother opens the door and can clearly see them up against each other, and so she's facing him, and she's got her face into him, and she climaxes while the brother is standing there.
Yeah,
and she's like, won't turn around to acknowledge the brother, so clearly something's going on, and he's fingering her butthole and all of this stuff, a little bit of DP. I was like, and then the brother's just like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah, and it's not getting the hint. Get out of here.
Fuck out.
Finally, Gideon's like, wild. Dude, just get the fuck out. Everyone's fine. And then 75% creepy bedroom clefting. Eva tries to prove that she's not a sub, and it's a shorty. But this whole sub dom talk was to me unneeded.
Unneeded and too 50 Shades. It was too directly correlated. Also, can you explain why the fuck did he build her bedroom in his apartment?
Oh man, that was very weird. So yeah, he builds a replica of her bedroom in his apartment, and to me, when I was listening, it sounded like he wanted her to have a safe place to go, to be away from him, that was familiar to her, so that she wouldn't run away and leave the apartment. She could go to her room, close the door, and then not, and she could stay in there until she was ready to come talk to him, instead of running away from him and wandering around the city like some insane person. That was my thing.
Oh, yeah. She's the insane person.
Legitimately crazy. I mean, for him to do that.
That was so weird. He bought weird. Everything that she had in her apartment. She was like, "Did you move my stuff in?" He's like, "No, I just bought the same things that you already have."
The red room from 50 Shades was less weird than this. You know,
yes.
it was pretty crazy. 77% Midnight Moon Pie. She wakes up super needy and wants to try on the ring that he got her. Not a marriage ring, but just a ring to show his ownership of her, kind of. And then they just bone down with a big dose of domination. And 80% limo sex. That's kind of behind closed doors. 85%. Sorry, I tried to rape you. Bone fest.
Oops.
He needs to see if he can touch her without her flinching, and so they slow bone. It's once again spicy, but like they seem to try to use "I love yous" as like a stopgap for any emotional growth, and it doesn't work. Like it's not it's not doing what they think they're doing. 88% morning bone, kind of behind closed doors again. 94% Transformers topping. They turn the limo into an F shack again, and he doesn't want Corrine, just to prove he doesn't want his Corrine ex. He's like, tells the driver, drive around until I tell you not to drive around anymore. And it's
which
steamy.
Is what he did on the way to the very first limo scene where he threw away his condom
call back
tiny trash receptacle.
Well, and then there's Dr. Terry. She meets Dr. Terry at this last thing, which is another instance of Gideon going, get away from him, don't talk to him, whatever else, with no context, no nothing, and then they bone in the car. And then 96%, she just walks into an orgy that Corey is having in the house, and that
Carrie?
So it's not Carrie orgy. And so, it doesn't actually have anything to do with our two main characters, but it is a sex scene technically.
Thank you for noting that. That's important.
Yeah. So 17 total sex scenes in this. I mean, it's pretty. I mean, where would you put it on the spice-o-meter?
What are my options? Medium plus, high.
Yeah.
High minus. What is the?
There's medium plus, spicy plus.
I mean spicy almost.
Yeah, I'd probably put it as spicy.
Yeah, I would say spicy.
I'd agree with that. There's a lot of sex in here, and some of it's pretty graphic and pretty detailed. I'd definitely go that route.
Remember
for sure.
when you used to be shocked by the sex scenes? In these books, and now you're like, there's 17.
There are 17 of them.
You used to text me and be like, whoa, my God. And now you're like,
crazy. Now it's just
like,
laughing at Bob and everything else. There's a lot of billionaire tropes in this. What other tropes do you think that's going on? I mean, do you think this is trauma porn?
Yeah. Yes, but more of like it's definitely trauma porn because it's so much of the story is pushed, like the whole narrative is around their trauma and them trying to fix it and make it better. But I feel like it's better done than the trauma porn it's like The Summer We Fell, where it's just like so squished into and to the point that we were making earlier of like, okay, they now need 5 full books to go through all this trauma. They do. You kind of do. Like there's some really detailed layered trauma in this. And I think it's handled relatively well. I mean, sex doesn't fix it, of course. We know that. But I feel like they're putting in the work and trying to figure out how to fix it, as opposed to like The Summer We Fell, which is just like, oh my God, there's so much trauma, death, rape, yada, yada.
they're not getting any help.
They fell in love and now everything's fixed. And so it's like, not quite. So I feel better about this. It's definitely trauma porn, but I think it's done better. What do you think?
Yeah. I agree. I mean, we get into her trauma. We don't get into his trauma in this book yet, but in this book specifically, I would say, they're not dwelling on it as much. It is a part of their story, but it's not as intensive as I thought of the actual trauma incidents itself.
Yeah,
they are triggering each other with all of their other neuroses throughout this entire thing. So that but that to me is not. I mean, obviously that's a byproduct of their trauma, but it's not always harping on said trauma, bringing it up over and over and over again. So I don't know if I'd go full trauma porn. Maybe the series as in total is going to be that way, but I wouldn't call this like something we felt. I wouldn't put it in the same category for sure. What do you think? One good thing, one bad thing about this book?
I think the parts that really tickled me that I really liked was some of the funnier moments when she's pushing back, like, I'm just going to go home and have sex with my Bob, and like some of like the turns of phrase that that Sylvia Day, the author, used. And then I did really like the like very 2012 specific. I should have written them down. I was like, no, I'll definitely remember these, and I don't. But just like the technology that they used, and there's like references to pop culture and stuff that are like magazines that I really just liked. That it's like, oh, it's so clearly 2012, and you could tell that it wasn't a current book based on those little things. And that's so funny to me, of like, you wouldn't think that writing about a cell phone or writing about like a laptop or a computer or something would date your book, but it does, because technology moves so fast. Anyway, I thought that was really good. I enjoyed that, I should say. I don't know if it was really good. One good thing, one bad thing. The bad thing is that it's this fucking series, and that I don't have any closure really on, like, this is a romance novel, right? So, like, do you think they'll end up together? Yeah. Yes, they will. Thank you. Very rarely do we come across one that they don't. I can name one. And so I know that they're going to end up together, but it's like, okay, so then, I've got to read.
It's about the journey, Helen.
Yeah, but this isn't Dragon Fuckers. I don't need like a, 450-page tome on like this billionaire and his new girlfriend. I don't know. So, that probably. What would you say? I mean, what is your high and low? Your rose and your thorn.
Yeah, I would say the one good thing is Eva and her relationship with Carrie I liked a lot at the beginning. I do not like how it ended up, where he kind of is, Carrie starts, I don't know if he's doing drugs towards the end of the book or if he's off the wagon or what's happening, but he's kind of a dickhole towards the end. But I like their relationship when they're healthy together, and he's very funny, and he is her trauma Sherpa for most of this book, and really helping her, and I like their relationship a lot when they were good together. The bad thing, I would say, it's that there's no resolution at the end of this book. I want a more self-contained. I don't mind a series, even a series about the same characters, but I would like to have more self-contained storylines. And I feel like they started a whole bunch of stories in this book and didn't finish any of them. Like, give us one through line for this book that we can kind of complete, and then have the other storylines starting off. But I feel like it was kind of like hockey fuckers, where there were so many routes.
We've read a lot of hockey, Smut.
The original,
specific.
Pucking around.
Thank you.
But I feel like there were so many storylines and so many threads that were started in that book, and none of them were followed through on. I kind of felt that way with this one too, where these threads were started, and there's going to be 4 more books where they're probably going to solve a lot of these strands. But I feel like they started them all, and I didn't have any completion on any of them.
You didn't have climax.
Yeah.
But I to your point on that, I feel like you could have shortened this one, taken out some of the sex, and like combined it with the second book, so that you still have an arc, right? Like you have
a full story arc.
and it feels like a full, complete novel, and then, you know, still keep going, but like having, a climax.
Yeah. Squish.
Squish. I bet.
Would you recommend this book?
Yeah.
You really had to think about that. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, again, you're recommending 5 books. Like, yes, it was relative to, like, if somebody comes into my office, if somebody's coming into my office and saying,
to your bookstore,
into my bookstore, saying, should I read 50 Shades or should I read Bared to You? 1000% read Bared to You. Like, 50 Shades, bonkers, stupid. I mean, read it for part of the zeitgeist. I'm really bad at saying no to any book. I just, like, I would read this over 50 Shades any day. But you don't know how much better it is than 50 Shades if you don't read 50 Shades as well. So you got to read both. But, I mean, I would recommend it. You're really recommending 5 books, though. Like, you have to be able to, like, buckle up and read the whole thing, I think, to have, like, a good...
Yeah, I'm gonna have to space these out, but I'll get there. I'll keep everybody up to date on the mini-sodes.
You're gonna have to let us know, because I will not be reading anything further. I barely can read the books I need to.
Do you know what we are reading next week?
I think so. Are you ready?
Ooh,
Icebreakers.
Yes, it is.
Hockey.
by who? Do you know?
Hannah Wells.
Hannah Grace.
Hey, I was kind of close.
You were close. The so next week is a more hockey smut. We really front loaded this this season with lots of hockey smut. I think this is our 4th or 5th hockey smut book this in season 2.
We've got a type. You know?
Yeah, you know. Next week is Icebreaker, Hannah Grace. Make sure to tune in Fridays for our minisodes where we talk about books not in the dirty verse. Well, some of them are not in the dirty verse.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're liking our bullshit and us generally laughing at our own jokes, hit that like, rate, subscribe. Generally, golden shower us with praise. Thank you for listening, and tune in next week, Smutters.
Stay smutty.
Stay smutty.
Bob.
Bob. And out.